How's it going, everyone? Hope you're doing super great. So in our last lesson, I did a walkthrough on how I created this vampire boy head. So this time around, let's go ahead and create something different. This is what we're going to be creating in this lesson. So if you want to see how to do this, please stay tuned and let's begin. So the first thing I'll do is to reset my view. So I'm going to go to View, Studio Presets, Studio, and I'll go and say Reset Studio just to make sure everything is reset. And I'll just go to File, New. And let's select A4 and I'll set it to landscape. Actually, it could be any size, but I'll just set it to landscape, and I'll leave it as transparent background because I like to create my own background. So hopefully you should have a similar view to mine. I'm not going to be using assets, so I'll just go to View, and under Studio I'm going to get rid of assets. There, I think this is a much better. Let me also get rid of the appearance, so I'll go to Studio and get rid of the appearance so we can have a nice space to work with. So the first thing I'll do to sketch out the manga eye, so I'll switch over to the pixel persona, and in the pixel persona I'll click on the brush. I'm actually using a Wacom stylus. This is way too large, so I'll reduce that to a small value and just test out with a few strokes. And this is a bit it's kind of laggy, so I'll just switch over to a brush. So we actually have the assistant add a pixel layer to us. For us, that's super great. So we have a whole host of brushes here. It doesn't really matter any one you use. It's totally fine. It's just up to you as a personal preference. So this is kind of dark. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and use this one. And I'll just like to drag this. Usually it's docked on this side, so I'll just dock it so we are all on the same docking page. And I like to set the opacity to almost half of it, and I'll leave it at that. So the first thing I'll do is to create the sketch of the idea I have. So this doesn't have to be perfect, but I just try to make a nice little sketch like so. So we're going to have a nice lid at the bottom as well. So let's just add some lashes, and this is going to have a thickness, so I'll just add a little bit of thickness like this, like so. And let's add some nice lashes here, so I'll add a lash here, another one like so, and towards the center we'll add a few of these and make them quite short, and then towards this edge we add these lashes as well, and then towards the ending I'll just have something quite large and just add these lashes. So this is going to be our lashes, and what I can do, I can just zoom in and reduce my brush size to about, say, 11 pixels. Yeah, I think it's nice to have that precision here. So what we're going to do next is just sketch out the eyeball. So I'll just go ahead and just sketch this out. This is a manga eye, so the eyeballs are quite large, and I'll just place it like over here. And I'll just have this nice shape like so. And for the lashes on there, I'll just add in some nice brow sections here, some lashes for the lid under. So what we'll do here is just add, I think our basic sketch is done. I don't want to spend too much time on the sketch phase. So what is left now for us to do is just add a few effects here. So I might just like to chop off this edge, just to add a nice effect. This is going to have its own, nice fill. And let's not forget the brow. So we'll just have a nice eyebrow like so. Just something quite nice and quite simple. Believe me, I'm a terrible sketcher. So what we're going to do next is to draw the pupil. So we'll just draw this over here. Now we'll add a little dark edge over here, and then we can have a few highlights here. There's a few highlights here, here, and here as well. And we're going to have a gradient inside, so I'll just sketch out and say, hey, you know what, this part is going to be dark, and this one is going to be dark as well. And then we'll add a little shading right here at this bottom, like so. Just enhance this a bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least we have the idea of what we want. And this is going to be our sketch face. I might even want to just darken this a little bit. I might add some of that like that over here, and this is it. This is our basic sketch. It's not looking like the best sketch in the world, but at least it's an eye to start with. So what I'll do is just click on this and make a selection right here, and let's see if I can use the transform tool, because it's a bit tilted, right? Okay, let me select the eyelash tool. So if we select this, make a marquee selection, and I press Ctrl T. So let's do that again. Sorry guys. So it's whoops, Ctrl D, M, select everything, Ctrl T. I think it's Ctrl T or V. I think we can click it from here. I'll tell you what, let's switch over to our pixel persona, and we can just work on that and switch it over. So I'll just deselect this. I don't know if for some weird reason it's not working. So the first thing I'll do is to use the pen tool and begin sketching out these outlines. So I'll click on the pen tool and set the fill to none, and then the stroke. Let's set the stroke to let's try 0.6. I'll just use that example. I think 0.6 is too thin, so I'll set the stroke to say yeah, I think 3 or 2.8. I think that's a good value for the stroke. So I'll just go in and start with the shape right here. So what I'll do is just click this point, click and drag over here. Click this point and just drag it a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. We'll click this point, click here and drag a little bit. Each time we drag, it just makes it kind of smooth, and then we can drag up to this point. The secret with the pen tool is you need few points to make effective changes. I like to also drag the navigator out so I can quickly and easily zoom in and see what I'm doing here. So I'll switch over to the node tool and select this point and delete it. And what I'll do is to just use this point to smooth out this curve, and I can just drag this anywhere I want and just use that to smooth this curve. I think I don't even need this point, that's excessive, so we'll just use this point to create this curve. So I'll just drag that and make sure it's kind of like lapping, and I'll just click on this and we can drag this over here as well. And then we'll click this guy and then pull this edge just so we have a nice smooth curve like so. I think I'm happy with this. This seems awesome. So what I'll do is to select this curve and I'll set the fill to black. So I can just fill that with black. What I can do is just turn down the opacity so I can see through the what I'm doing. So I'll just set the opacity to like 5. And what we can do right here is to save this curve shape for future reference so that I don't actually have to keep using and doing that again. So I'm going to go to Studio and I'm going to click on Assets, and right here where it has Assets, what I'll do is to click on this and I'll click on my manga eyes. If you drop this down, you can see I have some various shapes. So let me just show you an example of how you can create this. So click on this and create a new category. So we have assets 2. So click on it again and say rename category, and let's just call this beautiful anime eye. So I have this beautiful anime eye category and I have this assets. I can click here and say rename. So I'll just say anime eye parts. So once I press that return key and have this object selected, I can just press the select tool or press V and select the shape. I'll just click on this drop down and say add from selection. What this is going to do is going to add this shape right here. So let's see, let's set our fill back to 100 and let's just click here and say add from selection. Okay, good. So we can actually drag this again in case we need to use it in the future. So we don't need to kind of like redraw this shape over and over again. So it just for easy organization, that's really going to help. So that's just by the way, and I'll be saving these parts and reusing them as I go along. So let me just turn back that opacity to be very the fill to be low so we can actually see. Or we could just do this. We could just go to our fill and we can turn off our fill so we just see and have an idea of that stroke over there. So let's quickly create these lashes. For the lashes, I'll still be using the pen tool, but I'll show you another tool you can use to create those lashes. So I'll just create a triangle, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Another one, 1, 2, 3, and 4, like so. So I'll just quickly create triangles all around, and once I'm done creating those triangles, what I'm going to do is just to use the node tool and refine the triangular shape. So what happened over there was that I kind of like missed this. So this is how I'll just undo that. So I could just start Control Shift Z, and I could do this. I think okay, we're good. So I'll hold Control and click. So I'll just click these 3 points and make sure I close the shape. So if you hold Control and click, you'll actually close that shape. 2, 3, like so. And you can even leave it open, like so, but I just like closing it as a habit. Like so. Oops, I didn't want to dock that over here. Alright, so for this, we have a large one here. And for this, we could actually kind of like make it curvy. And I don't like what happened there. So I'll just do 1, 2, 3, close. And then hold Control, click, and then 1, 2, 3, and close. Very neatly, that's how we can close this. Now, these are kind of thick, but we'll also go back and fix that whenever we want. So switch over to the node tool, and what we can do now is to kind of like begin to smooth out these curves. So if I click on this, I could just click here and just click here just to smooth this out and make it more kind of curvy just by clicking on that point there. Like so. I'll just go over each shape, and like I said, it's super thick for what we want to do, but it's not a problem. I'll just use this to just zoom over here. Switch over to the node tool, click on this guy and just pull this here, pull this here. Click on this guy, pull this one over here. I'll hold on spacebar and I'll pull this edge. Click on this guy, pull this brow. Now what happens is it's actually converting that into something else. I don't want that. I just want to so I'll just undo and just click on this and smoothing it. It's being stubborn, like so. And I'll click on this edge here. So I'll click on this shape, and I'll do that for this guys. So it gets monotonous and repetitive and boring, so you can just quickly skip the video, and once we're done, we'll just continue working with our shapes. And then for this last little fella, we'll just do that as well. Nice. So I think what we can also do is to just I think we can group scale and change all that. Let me try this. Let me click these 3. Or let's just select all the lashes. I'll hold Shift. Select these lashes down to this one. So I think I've grabbed all the lashes, and let's go to stroke, and let's just dial that down so we can actually see what happens here. We can set the stroke of each of these, and let's go to our fill and let's turn on the fill, and for our lash, which is over here, let's set a fill color as well. So what we're going to do now is to quickly adjust each of these guys so that they just sit like over it. Since it's black, it won't be a problem trying to kind of like adjust this guy. So I'll just click this guy and just go over here real quick. I'll just drag this guy, just drag you and rotate a bit. So what I can do is just quickly zoom out. I can use Control 0 to focus this on the screen. Use Control 1, 2, and 3 to have these zoom levels in case you want to do some very quick zooming. We can also use Control and plus to zoom in and out. So I think that's great. So I'll use Control 0 and Control 1 or Control 3. I think these are fine where they are. Whoops. So I accidentally selected the entire shape, and this one seems to be a bit off, so I'll just pull it here and just drag it and place it over here. Nice. So let's do Control 0 so we can see this shape in all of its glory. So now what do we work on next? We have the basic shape right here, so we can work on the lower lid, right? We could just quickly work on the lower lid. So I'll quickly use the pen tool, click on this edge, come over here, click and drag. So I'll get rid of the fill because it's not helping. So I'll just set this to this value and then do this, 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 and I'll just close this shape like so. So once I've closed that, I can just select the move tool or click select here. So I'll just select this guy and then switch over and press A, which is shortcut key for the node tool, and I'll just zoom in over this guy and I'll press A again and click. And what I want to do is to make this edge here curvy. You curve out, you curve in here, you curve in here. And I think I might want to make this sharp. We can actually make this very sharp by holding Alt and clicking this edge and then bending this shape like so. So you can curve this like so. So we can do something like this. I'll just leave it like this. Right, I believe that's cool as well. And I'll just make it like that. Okay, I'm actually going against my shape, but it's quite fine. I kind of like this improvisation we did over here. We just improvised that shape, and that's cool. So we forgot to add this one. It's no problem. I'll just use the pen tool and draw, and kind of like I'll just try to follow the shape here. I'll hold Control, click, and then use the pen tool again, and then quickly use A and pull this, push this here, and push this here as well. I don't like how this shape came out, so I'll just delete this and select this one and say Control J and then press V to move this over here. I can select this shape here too, and then move this so that it goes over here. Now you can notice this is quite long, so let's try to stick to the script here. So to work on this one, I'll just head over to the zoom tool and just click on it and zoom and click hold. I'll press A and I'll just pull this edge here. Just pull it like that. Just get over here, click this guy, pull this edge so we can just stretch this shape right there, and we can just push this to add some perspective. So we just push this like so as well. So I'll just do Control 3 so that we can actually see that. And with this, we can select this main shape, turn back on its fill, and we can just fill these two shapes like so. Just fill and fill. So again, if you want to, let's say we actually like this shape, so we could select everything. So I'll just do a select and just draw a marquee select on this guy. I can combine them into a single shape, which is this shape. And what I can do now is go to my anim parts and say add from selection, so I can easily drag this and drop it else. So, but the problem is if I want to edit these now, I'll need to do some work on it as well. But it's totally fine. I'll just leave it at that. So next, let's quickly draw our nice pupil shape right here. We'll just use an ellipse. And I like to get rid of fill first so I can see what I'm drawing. So I'll just stretch this a bit. I'll click convert to curves, and what we can do is to begin to play around with these nodes right here, so we can have something that deviates from a perfect circle. So here I'll just hold Alt a bit to bend this, and I'll go over to this handle and click on this handle and drag it over here. And at this bottom, I'll just pull this handle and then click and drag this handle. I'll hold Alt and press, just drag like that. Go over here, drag this to the bottom. We can increase the size by pulling it like so. And I think it roughly represents our shape right here. Let's add some thickness to this width. So I'll add this one. And honestly, this is too mechanical for me. So I'll just hold Alt and kind of like shift this so it becomes more organic. So I'll just leave it as that. So this is going to be our eye shape. But remember, we have this section right here we've chopped off. So we can actually do this. We can draw a nice shape like so, kind of squish it. Oops. And then I'll go over here and just rotate this guy and move it down a bit. So I'll select these two shapes. It's this shape and this shape. So select this one and hold down Control and click. And then what I can say is subtract. So it's going to subtract the shape. Now, honestly, this is not the best way to do this because this is a destructive method of hiding out parts. What if your designer or your client tells you, hey, I want this cut to actually be here, not here? That means you have to start filling this shape or redrawing the shape, and it's actually a destructive way of doing this. So a non-destructive way of doing this is to actually use a vector mask or a clipping mask. So I'll show you what the clipping mask does. So I'll have this, let's go ahead and delete this guy. But if that's what you want, that's totally fine. I don't want that, so I'll switch over to the pixel persona. And on the pixel persona, what I'll do is to click on this mask here. So that's a pixel mask. And since this is a white mask, it means it will reveal everything. That's why we're seeing the whole shape. What I want to do is to hide this section. So I'll use the elliptical marquee tool and draw some nice elliptical marquee and move this. I can just draw it over here. And okay, if it becomes that symbol, yeah, so if you click and hold when it's like this symbol, you can actually draw that. And I'll use the paint bucket tool and make sure I'm selecting a black color. So I'll go over the color, go over there and make sure I've selected the mask and click fill. This is going to fill this section with black, and if I turn this on, we can actually see what's happening. Okay, we're not getting anything. So where am I? Oh, sorry about that, guys. We're actually on the wrong shape. So I'll deselect that, go over to this curve, click on mask, and we can actually see what happens. So because this is a black mask, it inverted everything. So I'll just undo that and deselect real quick. And on our curve, make sure I'm on the right curve. I'll click on the pixel mask. Once that's there, it's a white mask. I can now draw my selection and say, hey, I want you to kind of like, sorry, not there. I want you to just be here like so. And then I'll click on the fill tool and fill this with a black mask, and we can actually see that we've hid this shape. But again, we can see that it's not doing the best job. So I think what I'll do is, for simplicity, I have another masking tutorial. What I can actually do is to go over here, delete this this mask, and I'll get rid of this as well. Let's quickly just undo and leave it at our chopped shape, because we're just using this as an example. So whoops, I think I overdid that. Let's go to the history, add clips, transform. Yeah, that's it. So select this one and that one. Now let's head over to our designer persona, select these two, and it will do a subtract. That just makes life easy. Alright, I should have just done that the first time. Sorry about that, guys. So with this shape created, let's create this shape out here. So I'll just click the ellipse tool and just click and drag that. So we have this nice round shape, like so. And what I'll do is to create the inner one. So I could just do I can hold Control, click, and then drag. And then I can hold Shift to scale that down to proportion. And we could just push this up a little bit just to make it have that, give it that nice shape. And let's create our highlight shape over here. So for that, we could use the same circle tool and then click Convert to Curves, and I'll just select this curve and kind of like rotate this and drag this over here so it nicely matches. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it actually just matches over here. And what we can do is to hold control and click and drag it over here so we can actually have these smaller highlights here. Make them quite small. You can do the same thing here, and I'll click and drag and draw the same thing over here as well. Now I think we're virtually almost done. We could just pull this and just make this slightly bigger. So we have just a few things to add here. So I'll switch over to the pen tool and I'll click this here, click here, here. Whoops, not like that. So I'll just hold Control and click any empty space. Click that. Click that. I'll just draw this one. This one. Whoops. Hold Control to click anywhere just to say, hey, look, I'm done with that selection. And let's select this one as well. And remember, we had this nice little highlight here. So I'll switch this over to a very nice thin line and then use the pen tool to draw that shape. And I'll hold Alt and curve this. And we'll just go to this last one like so we can have this, which is a smooth shape. So how I did that was I clicked here once, click and drag, then hold Alt to bend this curve, and then the next point is going to be the closing curve, so we can drag this, which helps you create a very nice and awesome crescent. Right. And if you like that, remember, you can always go to here and say add from selection, and you have that shape right here, so you can always bring back your super crescent. Nice. So I think we're virtually done with the design. I could just zoom out. Let's use Control-0 to zoom out, and we can see our super nice little awesome shape. Again, I can actually see a small problem with this edge here. I just want it to be, I want it to be a nice curve, so I just switch over here. I just want you to be a bit organic. Let's pull this up a bit. I think it's better that way. And let's not forget our our brow. So let's quickly do that. So I'll click here, click this edge, and just pull that over here. And I'll hold Alt just to bend this. Whoops. So I don't think I did that properly. So I'll just click once, click over here, drag. Like so. I'll hold on Alt to bend that. Then I'll click this first one and just drag it over here. Now it didn't do what I wanted it to do, but that's totally fine. To fix this, I'll just go over here and click this convert here. I think we have that shape already. So I'll just click here and drag it and pull. And here we could just rotate this guy and hold Alt and curve this guy. So the problem here is this tip, right? I actually wanted this tip to, be, I'll just do it again, honestly. Sometimes it doesn't cooperate at all. So I'll just do it in a series of steps, simple steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5. I think it was better this way, honestly. So I don't have to fight it and all that stuff. So I'll increase the stroke as well. We might not necessarily need the stroke, we just need to add a fill, and the stroke could be anything since it's not a single line. So I'll press V so we can just position this anywhere. I'll just add that and just drop that there, and I'll just like to add a little nice line for the crease underneath the eye. So I'll just start from here and just click and drag over here like so. Oops. Like that. Yeah, and I'll get rid of the fill because I just need this single stroke right there. Now that's great. So what we're going to start doing next is to add some gradients, and we can even add a nice color over here for the eyelash because we're trying to do a beautiful eye. So to do that, I'll just click here, 2, 3, like so, click here, 5, 6, and over here I think I'll just we can select this guy and click on this so we can give it some nice handles, and if we zoom in we should be able to see those handles. Okay, I lost it for a second there. Yeah, if we zoom in we should be able to see those handles, so I'll just pull this handle and let me just zoom out a little bit. So I'll just use the transform tool and just pull this up like so because I want us to be able to see this here. And this edge, I'll just drag this and put it slightly under here. And we can drag this over here so we can see this, and pull this one as well so we can see this. Now we can fill this with any color. Let's just say upper lid. And it's a good time to save our project, which is the first thing we're supposed to do. So I'll just see beautiful eyes, and I'll get rid of this project here because of memory and space, because you don't want Affinity Designer to complain too much. Nice. So that's super awesome. So let's begin our the best part and fun part that I actually like doing, which is the gradients, adding gradients. So you can use any gradient you want, but you can start with something monochromatic and then you can switch them when you're done. And to use the gradient, we'll click this gradient tool right here. It's asking us for the type. I'll click linear and we can actually see it's just dropped in a linear gradient right here. I want this to be from top to bottom, so I'll just click this guy here and then drag this over here. So basically I'm going to have a color that's going to go from top to bottom here, and to set that color I'll click over here. So this is going to be my brightest part, so I'll click color and let's see. Let's try this blue here, and let's just set this bluish, pinkish kind of tone to be the lightest part, and then for the darkest part let's click the end, and we can really go crazy over here. We can go over here like so and just drag this over to have a nice color like so. And we can add a midpoint color as well. So this midpoint color, let's try something like this for the midpoint, and just pull this over here. I think I'm liking this one for the midpoint color. And the cool thing is you can actually drag over here to set where you want that color, or how you want that color to kind of like work. You can drag this over here to the bottom, and we can even increase the length of this shading right here. So what I'll do next is to just jump over here and select this guy. We don't need the stroke, but we need the fill. I'll just set the fill to white, and the stroke will just cancel out the stroke like so. So we'll do the same thing for this guy. Set fill to white, stroke to set fill to white, and then the stroke. We'll cancel that stroke. Let's do the same thing here. There are shortcuts, we can use the same shortcut here. So I'll set the fill to white and the stroke, no stroke. And let's do the same thing to this guy. say white fill and no stroke, just like that. So let's see about this guy. So let's set this to a slightly darker value. It's not going to be pure black. And let's get rid of the stroke. But for our fill, let's set it to something. We can leave it at black, but what we can do is to just turn down the opacity a bit, so that it's actually we can actually see it's kind of like back there. And for our fill, for this color, we can set it to white. And okay, we can get rid of this fill. Let's say no fill. We'll set our stroke to white, and then we can dial down the opacity of this guy as well, so it's barely visible. It actually helps when you set it up kind of like that way. And what we can do is to get rid of our sketch layer, is our pixel layer, so we can just hide this sketch layer because it's kind of being obstructive. And let's select this guy over here, and let's set the fill to say this color here. And let's get rid of the stroke as well. And then for it to kind of like blend in, we could just dial this down a bit, like so we can have this shape here. We have the shape blending in. So for this one, let's do the same. Let's use the same color we have here. So for the fill, we have our recent history that we've used this color. And then for the stroke, we are going to hide the stroke. But the problem is this is actually on top. I want it to be behind this guy. So what we can do is to, when we have that shape selected, we can click this. I think this is sent to back. So this is going to send it to behind. And what that means is it's going to be down here, like so. And we can just play around with the opacity as well. Right, so we can just play with that opacity and see how this kind of looks like. And then over here, what we can do is to add another nice gradient around this guy, just to hide some of these details. Now another thing is our brush stroke is just too consistent. What we can do is to add a little variation for our stroke. And to do that, let's go to pressure. Make sure you select the shape you want. Let's go to pressure, and we can just begin playing around with these edges here. And you can actually see what it's doing to our brush. So if you go over here and turn up the size of our brush, you can see we have this nice kind of like a curve. So we don't have the curve looking all unique. We just broke that curve and then added some nice profile to that shape. So let's try for this guy. If it works best for single shapes, so let's bump this up a bit. And then let's go to pressure and let's add some nice variation here. I'll add another point in the center. So we could just tweak this guy and then push this guy up and then drag this over here. So let's see what kind of effect we're giving this brush. So you can see it's giving it that variation. Let's do the same for these brushes as well. But for this, I'll just select this center. Oops. So this guy, I believe I can multiple select this to save time. Alright, so I have this profile where I'm tweaking. I just pull each edge down like so I have something super sharp. So what I can do is I can save this profile. So let's go here and say save profile. So if I click another, let's say this guy, I can jump over here and I can use the same profile for that shape too. So let's quickly select this guy, hold on, control, select, I think it should be shift. So select this guy, hold shift, select, and let's zoom in a bit because they're quite close to each other. So I'll use my move tool, select this guy, hold shift, select, 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 go to the aha. So how do I jump to my stroke? So I'll switch over to the node tool and click on this pressure and click on this profile, so I can have this profile like so. So select this guy and just drag it over here, and let's just zoom out a little bit. And if we are not satisfied with this gradient, what we can always do is to actually switch and change this gradient. So let's just do some more funky stuff here. Let's add this shape. It's an overall shape. I'll just add it over here and kind of like twist this guy like so. And what I can do is to add some transparency and then make this slightly so added some transparency. Basically it's like fading out. So let's rotate this guy and just place it over here. And it helps to have the navigator around, because with the navigator, or let's say with the navigator, we can quickly see what we're doing, whether it's kind of like blending. And this doesn't need the stroke. So sorry, I have to get rid of the stroke, so I can just have you sitting down here like that. So let's see if this is making sense. I think it'll make more sense if we, you know, dial it down a little bit. Now it's there, but that effect is subtle. And what I want to do is to do Control J and then make this color slightly dark. So I'll head over here and make this very dark. I'll set this to multiply, and I'll turn it up a little bit. Now, I think this is this might not be the best, but I think it's a quite nice it's quite a nice effect. We can just see it around there. Okay, not too sure if I really like that, but we'll just leave it over here. So we can make tweaks and tweaks and tweaks and keep tweaking and changing, but I think we can just leave this over here. So what we can do is to create a nice group for all our work. So I'll click on the ellipse tool here, scroll down and click shift click to the curve, hold Control and click the upper lid and press Control G. So we'll just call that the eye. And what we can do is to add a little texture to our shapes. Right, so this guy, we can add a little texture to this guy by going to our fill. If we select the color, you can actually see noise, so we can add a little bit of noise here. It might seem like it's not doing anything, but if I zoom in a bit, you can actually see it's giving us that slight texture like paper. So that's a nice thing to add. So this is it without noise, and this is it with a little bit of noise. So let's just set the noise to this value and leave this noise right here. We can even add some custom shapes here to make this cute. So if we click on the special tape tool, I think there should be a heart at least. Yeah, there it is. So there's a nice heart tool. So we can add a nice heart around here and set this to solid. Like so. And we can also do things like, you know, dial that down as well. You know, you can add some very nice colors to it, but that's no problem. I just want to leave it like that. So in case you like this, it's totally fine. You can leave it like that. Let's get rid of this guy. Oops. So I think it's part of our selection. So to get rid of it, we have to find it where it is. And we can add this to our main shape layer as well. We can send this in here, just so it's part of this group. So this is our sketch, and this is our final piece. I need to find this guy and get rid of it. It's not nice for it to be sitting over there. I think we should have a vector select tool where you could just select a specific vector, but since this is part of the group, I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. So I'll just delete it because we don't need that curve. It's very obstructive. So what we can do next is to add an overall effect for this eye, like so. So to do that, let's head over to our adjustment layers. Let's try the levels first to adjust lightness or darkness. So here I'll just drag this and you can actually see what the levels is doing. That's not really cool. We could just bump that. We can also add a hue saturation. So I'll select the layer and add a HSL, hue saturation lightness. This will allow us to change the overall color and also bump, you know, the we can bump the colors as well. So you can actually use this to have variations of this eye like so, and we can just bump our saturation so we can have something more colorful appearing here. I think I like this. This is awesome. So we can always, you know, kind of like switch and tweak and turn till we see a nice color we want. So I think I'll set it to this value. Again, 100% is not really good for whatever effect you're trying to add. So I'll just dial this down to about 65 and I'll set this to about, I'll set the HSL to about, let's say 70 as well. So what we can also do is to duplicate this group so we can have two of these eyes. So I'll just press Ctrl 0 so we can actually zoom out, and I'll switch over to the transform tool and just drag this and paste it over here. And with this selected, I'll press Ctrl J to duplicate that, and I'll click the mirror tool to mirror that, and I'll hold down Shift, left click and drag over here so we can actually see that we have two of these. And this is going to be our, we can select both of them, hold this guy, shift click and select this guy, and then we can hold shift and scale this object so we can actually have this object over here. So in case you would like to duplicate the eyes, so there you have it, folks. That's how you can create a nice cute anime eye using some various effect techniques. So hopefully this helps. And if you like this, please subscribe to the channel and tell me if you'd like to see more awesome stuff. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next quick tip.